And good day. I'm Andrea Mitchell, live in Washington. It is a tug-of-war on Capitol Hill with the newly minted super committee locked in the middle. House Speaker John Boehner says, sorry, Mr. President, no new taxes to help pay for the jobs bill. So are we in store for another D.C.-style showdown? Joining us now, Senator Mark Begich, Democrat from Alaska. Senator, thanks so much. You are one of 36, I believe, 36 senators who have called for a bipartisan approach. That puts you in a very special category. But looking at what the Speaker has said, what the President has said, where do you see room to really negotiate?
Well, I hope it's just a little bit of what you have described as Washington gridlock. I call it Washington show and tell. So hopefully we'll get beyond that. And honestly, as we sat yesterday, 36 of us, bipartisan effort, one of the issues that I was very excited about to be able to talk about, and you heard it over and over again, and that's the whole issue of the tax reform debate. If you watched and listened to each one of those Democrats and Republicans yesterday, we got busy talking about how we can move forward on real tax reform that's necessary to propel this country forward. There's a proposal that Senator Wyden, Senator Coates, and myself have put forward in regards to how to move some simplification to taxes, how to lower the corporate rate, get rid of the loopholes, and make it easier for small businesses to take advantage of the incentives out there. So I'm hoping that's a galvanizing point. I'm like you and probably everyone in America, kind of fed up with the gridlock and the positioning and the kind of the jawboning that goes on just to get a good headline or a good piece in the paper. I'm hopeful that we can move forward. And I do believe the American people, a lot of the folks, senators and House members, got an earful when they were back in August. I know when I went back, it didn't matter where I went. May have been on my personal time going to the grocery store, or to the hardware store, or out on official events. People told me one thing. I don't care if it was a Democrat or Republican. Get something done, work together, and quit the politicizing. And I hope Speaker Boehner isn't into the politicizing again just because it sounds good for his caucus, because we got business to do here, and American people, Alaskans, are telling me, get busy.
Well, in fact, a Bloomberg poll validates that. This new poll shows that the view of elected officials is really in the basement. 26% want to throw them all out. 28% think all that you guys do is fight. 35% want compromise. Only 8% believe that your colleagues are doing the best that they can.
You know, it's interesting when you said we're in the basement. I would describe us, you know, if you have a basement that floods and you got that hole where the sump pump goes, that's where we are. And we need to get ourselves out of that. And the way we do that is what you saw yesterday. 36 of us saying, look, here's some principles we can work forward to and work on. Or the tax reform legislation that I mentioned just a little bit ago, that, you know, we Democrats and Republicans sitting down and saying, let's move forward. The challenge is, and it really is kind of an ongoing, never-ending election cycle, is we're here to do business. Now, we're going to have some wins and we're going to have some losses in the sense of the way we do the business around here. But we should get busy and do it. I mean, last night, even though it wasn't super in the sense of the way I would describe it, we passed a disaster relief bill, which is important for our country, short-term FAA and short-term transportation bill. But those last two short terms, to me, those could be long-term. And you talk about creating jobs, you know, rebuilding our roads and water and sewer and infrastructure in this country would create thousands of jobs. Instead, we're nickel and dime ourselves to death and arguing over, you know, be honest with you, kind of petty politics. And we're going to have to compromise. And compromise is not bad. It's okay. You know, it's kind of like you have to get some people to think that we're here not to just be so hardened in our positions, because when you're hardened in your positions, nothing gets done. And I mean on both sides, Democrats as well as Republicans. If we're too extreme, nothing gets done. We go backwards. Look at that scores that you just talked about on the SAT scores. We could argue why, but we are not doing as good as we should be when it comes to education in this country compared to other countries, because we've been twiddling our thumbs and arguing amongst ourselves. So my view is, I'm hopeful. I think a lot of members got some wake-up call during their August work session back in their own home district. I'm going to work aggressively on issues like tax reform, where I see bipartisan opportunity, jobs in this economy. I think there are huge opportunities. We met with veterans yesterday, a group of veteran organizations. There's a great bill that's available, moving both in the Senate and the House, that help create an employment opportunity for our veterans, which have some of the highest percentage of unemployment. So there are some pieces out here. We should grab them create some opportunities and victories, and at the same time put some folks to work. And what a better group but our veterans who have sacrificed so much. And there's no question, as a member of the Veterans Committee, I've seen this bill we're working on now that we've moved through, the House has moved through, a companion bill. It's a winner, and we should move forward on these kinds of legislation.
Thank you so much, Senator Begich. Thanks for starting us off here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day and have a great weekend.
You too. And Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent, and David Gregory is, of course, moderator of NBC's Meet the Press. Kelly, I heard you say to Brian Williams last night that there were 36 senators. It's a start. It's a start. It's a big deal.
It's hard for people to realize how unusual that is for Democrats and Republicans to stand shoulder to shoulder in the same picture and to deliver the same message. So that is a start. And Senator Begich is always flying back to Anchorage every weekend, so he's got a very long flight ahead of him today. But he's one of those voices as a Democrat trying to bridge some of the gap. His counterpart in Alaska, Lisa Murkowski, sort of wound up that news conference she's a Republican, trying to get people to think about something that is not so cool these days in Washington, and that's compromise, as he mentioned it.
And David,